This video is an introduction to solving equations. There is another video on solving equations, but it's a little bit more advanced. This one here is more for year 7s and beginning year 8s who are just learning how to solve 1 and 2 step equations. And I'm going to use the backtracking method in this video because it's a very visual way to see what actually happens to the letter and how did we get the answer. And it helps kids because they can actually see a flow chart, and when they use the flow chart, they're guaranteed just about every time to get it correct. So to start with the one-step problems, we have a number plus 3 equals 7. These types of questions used to come up in primary school where there would be a box, plus 3 equals 7, what number goes in the box? And that's basically all you're doing with algebra. So if we say to ourselves, a number plus 3 equals 7, that means we had a number that was 3 less than 7. So what that is saying is when we move here to work it out, we're actually going to use the opposite of addition, which is subtraction. So we would then do 7 take 3 to work out that x equals 4. And again, the beauty about these questions is you can check your answer. 4 plus 3 equals 7. When we move on to B, it's something take away 4 equals 12. So a real life example of this is you have a certain amount of money in your wallet. You spend $4 and now you've got $12 left in your wallet. So how much money did you have to start? So you obviously had 4 more than the 12 that's remaining. So that means the opposite of subtraction is addition. So we would get the answer of A equals 16 because we obviously had more money in our wallet than what we ended up with. The next one, 4C equals 20. So 4C in algebra is 4 times C. So 4 groups of C gives us 20. So most of you by now should have worked out that C is going to be 5. And again, to do that, we're just going to draw in our arrow because the other number sentence that we can work with 4 and 5 and 20 is doing a division. So 20 divided by 4 because division is the opposite of multiplication to get 5. And then the last one, something shared between or divided by 3 gave us 5. So we had a certain amount of money. We have shared it between 3 people and each of those 3 people got $5. So how much money did we share? And again, we shared it between 3 people, so we did division. So now when we go backwards to count it up, we're actually going to do multiplication, and we do 5 times 3. So we get D would be 15. So that's for one-step equations. There's an example there of each operation for one step, but it's the important thing when you're solving equations is to remember you have to undo what was done. And to undo what was done, you've got to do the opposite. So if it was plus, we have to do take. If it was take, we have to do plus, and same with multiply and divide. If it was multiplication, then we do division to undo it, or if it was division, we have to do multiplication to undo it. Our next lot of examples is going to show the backtrack method in full setup. So when I do this, it's to show how we got to the answer and then what we need to do and the order that we need to do it in to undo it. So when I do these questions, I read these out loud to myself and I say 2 times a number plus 1 equals 9. So in my head, we started with a number and that number was X. The first thing I said was 2 times that number. So we multiplied by 2. And then the next thing that we did was plus 1. So we put the plus 1 on the arrow, and then we put an equal sign over to the side to say that we got an answer of 9. So now when we go backwards, I will do this in green, When we go backwards and we start to undo what we did, we have to do the opposite. So it was +1. Now, when we go backwards, we're going to do take 1. So 9 take away 1 is 8. And then we first did times 2. So when we go backwards, we have to do the opposite of multiply, which is divide by 2. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. So that tells us that the number that we started with was 4. And again, great thing about these questions, you can check what you've done. So we've said 4. Well, 2 times 4 is 8. 8 plus 1, 9. We know we've got it correct. Moving to the next example now. So again, we're starting with a number. We always think, what does this actually say? So this says 5 times A, take away 4, equals 11. So I started with A. The first thing I said was times 5. Then I said take away 4, and we got the answer of 11. Now when I go backwards to work out what we started with, I have to do the opposite. So take 4, the opposite of take 4 is +4. 11 plus 4 is 15. And then I do the opposite of times 5, which is divide by 5. And 15 divided by 5 is 3. So we get A equals 3. Now if we do a quick check of that, 5 times 3 take 4. Well, 5 times 3 is 15. 15 take 4 is 11. So we know that we've got our answer correct. Example number 3 for this part. So again, first step, read it out. Say it to yourself in your head. C divided by 3 plus 4 equals 9. So we started with C. The first thing I said was divided by 3. The next thing I said was +4, and we got an answer of 9. So now when I go backwards, we did +4. So to undo that, we have to do take 4. And 9 take away 4 is 5. And then we originally did divided by 3. So to undo that, we have to do multiply by 3. And we do 5 times 3, which is 15. So we get our answer of our starting number was 15. And if we read that out in our heads, 15 divided by 3 is 5. 5 plus 4 equals 9. So we know that we've got that one correct. Just another one here for you that's a little bit different. Again, still read it out to yourself. 2 times D divided by 3 equals 10. So we started with D, and the first thing I said here was 2 times D. So times 2 first, then it was divided by 3, and we got an answer of 10. So when I go backwards, again, just undoing what we did, we're doing the opposite. The opposite of divide 3 is times by 3. 10 times 3 is 30. And then again, opposite of multiplication is division, so we are going to do divided by 2. And we got 15. So D equals 15. And again, if we wrote that out to check, we would do 2 times 15 divided by 3, and 2 times 15 is 30. 30 divided by 3 gives us 10. So now I'm just going to go through how to do the backtracking without having to draw the backtracking method, because obviously as we start to increase the amount of steps involved, the backtracking method can take up a lot of room. It's not to say that you can't do it, but it's a good start, and then hopefully as you get more confident, you'll move into this method, which is still backtracking, but you're not drawing in the arrows. Instead, you're doing it step by step, just underneath each other. So, same thing again. First thing we do is read out the question in our head. 3 times a number plus 1 equals 22. The first thing I said was 3 times, and the last thing I said was plus 1. So what we're trying to do here is think about that backtracking method. The last thing I said was plus 1. So the first thing I have to do is take 1, which then tells us that 3x is equal to 21. Once we get to this point, it's just a one-step equation. 3x equals 21. 3 times a number is equal to 21. And we're doing that backtracking. We've taken away the 1. So the next step is to divide by 3. And when we do that, 21 divided by 3, we get x equals 7. And then we can check. So 3 times 7 is 21. 21 plus 1 is 22. So same thing works for part B, where we say it in our heads, x divided by 4, take away 2 equals 1. So the last thing I said was take away 2. So when I'm backtracking, the first thing I'm going to do is plus 2. So we get x over 4 equals 3. Then we're at a one-step equation, but again, we think in our head, after we did the take 2, we had to plus 2 to come back. So the other arrow would have said divide 4. So now we're going to multiply by 4, and we get 3 lots of 4 as 12. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. 3 take away 2 equals 1. So I'll just do one 3-step equation. So this is a multi-step equation where we get 2x divided by 5 plus 3 equals 7. So again, the last thing I said was plus 3. So the first thing I do is take away that 3. Now, usually when we do the backtrack method, they're underneath each other, the arrows, so they cancel each other out. So what we're actually doing here is we are taking from both sides of the equals sign to level out those arrows. So we're left with 2x on 5 equals 4. Then I say, okay, what did I say to myself next? 2 times x divided by 5. So the next arrow was divided by 5. Now it's going to be times by 5. So I get 2x equals 20. And now 2 lots of something gives us 20. We know that we need to divide by 2 and we get x equals 10. Hopefully this helps you with another method of learning how to solve basic algebra equations with a visual option. So again, the backtracking method, excellent. If you can get to the point after you've done these ones a few times where you've got to draw in those arrows, and then once you're confident with that, start working on doing them, just talking it through in your head and writing down the little working down the side rather than having to draw the arrows, then that's great. But if you have to draw the arrows, by all means, do so.